Okay, the meeting is yours. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular City Council meeting scheduled for Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. It is a virtual Zoom meeting. And if we could all rise right now for the Pledge of Allegiance. And then after the Pledge of Allegiance, could we please continue to stand, and we'll have a moment of silence for U.S. Navy Lieutenant Rhiannon Ross from Wixom, who was fatally injured in a training mission last Friday. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please call roll?
Mayor Beagle,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Here.
Councilmember Behrman,
Here.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Here.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Here.
Councilmember Sharp,
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Quorum present.
Very good, thank you. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda as presented tonight, City Manager?
Mayor Beagle, we do have a walk-on item that I've asked to be added to the agenda regarding an amendment to a contract with Environmental Resource Group.
Very good. Any from the dais? All right, seeing none. Next item up is the approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve tonight. It's from the regular City Council meeting of September 22nd, 2020. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Support.
Do we have any questions, comments, additions, deletions? Seeing none, I got a motion and a support to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of September 22nd, 2020. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. We have one item of correspondence tonight, and that is a memo from City Manager Steve Brown regarding an emergency purchase of the cloud-based email archive and spam filter services. Next up is the first call to the public. I'll read to the rules to the call to the public. They are as follows. The call to the public is the public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless time is extended by a majority vote of council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council. All comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. And since this is a Zoom meeting, if you wish to speak and you're in the audience, please press *9 on your telephone keypad, and that will activate the raised hand feature, and we will call you in for your comments. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public?
Nobody with a hand raised as of right now.
All right, we'll give it like one more. All right, I'm going to close the first call to the public. Next up is the city manager's reports. We've got the fire monthly report of August 2020. Questions? All right, next up is the police monthly report of August 2020. Do we have any questions for the Public Safety Director Moore? No? All right, and the third is the departmental reports from September 2020. Do we have any questions on those? I just have one. And it's on our favorite topic, the fats, oils, and greases. Tim, what are we doing about that again? Because, we've got one that's only 104 and the rest are pretty far up there, especially with one at 504. And the limit is 100, so.
The limit, yes. So they've resampled and requiring if cleaning. And then once we get the results back on the resample, we'll move forward with additional costs to the individual restaurant owners. If we need cleaning on the sewers, they would be required to pay for that cleaning as well. So we're well on track now with monitoring each of those different businesses.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else with any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick.
I had a similar question, and one of the things, again, that you notice year after year, it's the same offenders. How often are we sampling at these sites?
We're sampling at least twice a year, and more than that when there are offenders.
When they have repeat offenses like this, shouldn't we increase the frequency of inspection and then put, the cost back on the business owner?
We do once they're we don't quit sampling on those now until they do get a clean bill of health, and then it starts that process all over again.
So that'll be monthly, Tim, or?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, depending on the sample results when they come in. So
Yeah.
as soon as we can get those.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Glenn Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I was wondering about, it talks about a grant for the removal of the PFAS. Is this connected to the new item that was added to the agenda, or is this something separate?
Nope, that's the same grant that we've acquired for the PFAS contamination and removal from the biosolids.
So we didn't get it yet, but we applied for it, is that correct?
We did. I'm sorry, we did get that grant. Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Gacho. Can you unmute?
Yep, thank you. Regarding the phosphorus levels, and since this has been an ongoing issue, I know we're going to talk about replacing equipment. When are we expecting those numbers to come within the legal limits?
So the reason we're still struggling with that is because it's twofold. One is the biological treatment that we use right now is through the oxidation ditches, and because of construction, we've had one of those oxidation ditches off for the last 6 months or so, for repairs in the different basins. Once those are done, we're hoping that the phosphorus levels will get closer to our annual monthly or our averages. And one of those averages is annual, and the other ones are monthly. So we're hoping that will go down. And we are also, our next upgrades to the treatment plant that are already in design phases include mixers for the aeration basins that will help us control the biological process a little more. And then also the addition of further treatment for polymer addition on the tertiary system. So those are all parts of the process that we think will lower the phosphorus concentrations in our effluent.
When are we expecting that to be done?
So the second phase of the treatment for aeration and that kind of thing is expected to be done towards the end of 2021. And the phase that we're in right now with the 2 oxidation ditches, returning to service at different times. We're expecting to be done in the next month or so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else with questions? Seeing none, I'll move on to the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by city council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support. All right, I've got a motion and a support to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote, please.
Billy,
Which one was that?
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
yes,
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business tonight, so we'll move right into new business. New business number 1 is a recommendation to approve a request from Pine Cove Investments LLC for a preliminary site condominium development of 12 single-family residential lots to be called Maple Glen condominiums. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Ms. McIntyre, do you want to give us some, a brief update on this?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Beagle. So tonight you're considering a preliminary site plan approval for Maple Glen condos, which are 12 single-family residential units. The property is 6.35 acres on the north side of Maple Road, west of Wixom and east of the Hillsborough subdivision. The site condo review process requires that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the City Council for both the preliminary site plan and the final site plan. So tonight you are looking at the preliminary site plan. And the preliminary site plan establishes the layout of the development, the road network, the utilities, the stormwater detention. The final site plan will look at more details such as the landscaping and the actual house floor plans and the elevations. This proposed layout and design includes the extension of Castlewood Court from the north, which is in the Hillsborough subdivision. And so that extension will travel south to Maple Road. The proposed right-of-way is 60 feet with 27 feet of pavement. The developer has proposed an acceleration and deceleration lane on Maple Road. Our city code of ordinances requires that all subdivisions in the city of Wixom provide a passing lane. And our city engineer noted that in their letter that it is required. However, after discussion at the Planning Commission level, they felt that a passing lane was not warranted and recommended that the requirement be waived. The council has the ability to waive that requirement. A detention pond is proposed in the northwest corner of the property. And there's open space along the east property line and the connection to Hillsborough sub. There's also additional open space on both sides of Castlewood Drive at the west Maple intersection. The easements for the sanitary sewer and the public utilities are shown in the front yards of the units. The water main is included in the 60-foot street right-of-way easement. Stormwater easements are between and at the rear of units in 2 different areas. And the detention area requires an easement through the city's cemetery for stormwater discharge to the Sibley Drain. The applicant has been working with the cemetery board and Tim Sigma to obtain an easement. These 12 lots meet ordinance requirements as far as the size, lot width, and they show building envelopes that have ample space for a deck or a patio without encroaching into any rear yard setback. The actual building plans, floor plans, facades will be presented in more detail during the final site plan review. They've also shown 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of Castlewood. And as this is a new development and it extends Castlewood Drive to Maple Road. There are actually two single-family homes that exist on either side of this property. The applicant has agreed to increase landscaping along that drive adjacent to these existing properties to provide privacy and a better buffer from the cars. The applicant has provided replacement trees, street trees, and detention pond plantings. And again, we will look at that closer during the final site plan review. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their September 9th Planning Commission meeting and made a recommendation to council to approve the plan. The fire department reviewed and recommended approval of the development, and HRC's letter notes that permits will be needed from Eagle for the water main construction, sanitary sewer construction, a City of Wixom right-of-way permit, and a drain permit. And so based on all this information, the Planning Commission recommends approval based upon the following items: that landscape plan revisions and landscape buffering along the southwest and southeast drive from Maple Road be provided in the final site plan review, that a 20-foot easement across the city cemetery property be secured for stormwater outlet to the Sibley Drain, a waiver to eliminate the requirement of a passing lane on Maple Road, and that the review and approval of other consultants, departments, and agencies be obtained. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from the development here from Pine Cove Investments?
Yes, sir. My name is Mike Knoll. Good evening. Glad to be with you tonight. I am with the Umlor Group. We're the civil engineer and surveying company working for Pine Cove Investments. Pine Cove is represented by Haitham Obeid. He's on the call tonight.
He's on the
as well. Address for the clerk for the record is 49287 West Road in Wixom.
Thank
I
you.
have a short presentation to give you, so I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple of quick photos of this. So
Okay.
let's hope this works. Fingers crossed. Here we go. All right, I believe that worked. Let me put this PowerPoint up. And slideshow. Everybody seeing that okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. As Ms. McIntyre said, this site is called Maple Glen, and Pine Cove will be both the builder and developer. Ms. McIntyre did a great job of giving you the salient facts. Here's a picture of what it looks like and how it will connect with Castlewood Court and with Maple Road. It is a straight zoning request. It's consistent with the R3 zoning requirements of the city of Wixom for the lot size, lot width, lot area, density, setback, open space. So this is a straight zoning request for this 12-unit development. Here you can just see a little closer the unusual shape of the property and the shape of the building envelopes. In the next slide, you can see some of the homes that, put this down, there we go. So you can see some of the homes that Pine Cove will be proposing to build in here. As Ms. McIntyre said, you'll see some more details, some floor plans, and some additional elevations for each of these units in the final stages. But this is the Belmont, the Palmetto, and the Covington. Very attractive houses that Pine Cove is proposing to build at this site. The next slide. Here we go. One of the review comments was requesting a little bit more information about the monument sign for the neighborhood. This is another monument sign that Pine Cove Building built. And so we're utilizing the same type of design. A couple changes, of course, the name will change, but we're also going to be adding a more decorative cap across the top to just give it some additional contrast. One of the review comments asked, because of the unusual shape of the property and the curvilinear road layout if lot number 12 could fit all of the units. So I've prepared this exhibit showing all 3 of the proposed homes that Pine Cove is building, the Palmetto, the Covington, and the Belmont, and how those would fit to scale on that lot. And as you can see, and Ms. McIntyre pointed out, there's plenty of room to build a deck. Here's an optional sunroom. There's plenty of room to build a deck in the rear yards of each one of these units. Next slide. I want to thank Mr. Sikma for helping us with the storm easement that Ms. McIntyre mentioned earlier. So at the very north end of the site, we've got this short distance between the site and the Sibley Drain, which will be the outlet location from our detention basin. There's already an existing sanitary easement to the north in this area, north of where we're proposing the storm easement. And Mr. Sikma was very helpful to get us in touch with the cemetery board and to present our proposal to them. We've made a tentative agreement with them regarding any of the land that will be encumbering with this storm drain that would otherwise have been sold for plots. That's how we're going to calculate the cost of the easement. And I forget the exact figure. I want to say it was somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a fair price, and it's really necessary to make this go forward. And I just want to be clear that, you know, this is open space at this point. We won't be disturbing any kind of cemetery plots or anything. These have not been sold, and so we're able to make this arrangement here for the stormwater outlet. The next slide, yeah. So this slide, Ms. McIntyre mentioned that the Planning Commission, that the rules, the Wixom rules, require a passing lane, and we asked for some relief on this passing lane requirement. And I wanted to put together just a graphic representation of why we're asking for this relief. So you can see down in here, we are proposing acceleration and deceleration lanes for this site. And what we're asking for relief on is to put a passing lane on here. Because the site is so small, there are only 12 units in the site. There is a passing lane on the next drive down for the neighborhood that we're tying into. And of course, we may see some increased traffic beyond the 12 units coming from Castlewood Court. I wanted to point out that Castlewood Court only has 15 units as well. It doesn't seem likely that, unless there's an emergency or some other kind of blockage in the road, it doesn't seem likely that these neighbors will be taking this roundabout way to get out to Maple Road and over to Wixom. And so the reason that we're asking for this relief is, you know, an acceleration deceleration lane costs about $75,000, and that's what we are planning to do. To add a passing lane is about another $50,000. And when you have a development that's, you know, 50 or 70, you know, units, that doesn't hurt that bad. But when you only have 12 units to spread that out, you know, that's a cost of $4,000 a house. Mr. Obeid has been very gracious in saying, listen, you know, if the council requires it, if the planning commission requires it, if Wixom requires it, we'll do it. You know, we're not going to die on that hill. But we wanted to speak to you just a little bit about it, in hopes, you know, that we could appeal to you to give us a little relief on that passing lane for such a small development. It has been done in other instances in the city of Wixom. Other than that, those are my pictures that I wanted to show you, and I will stop the screen sharing, and I'm here to answer any of your questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilmember Grenlund Fox, and then I'll go to Councilmember Gotcho.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, it looks like a lovely development. I just want to say, first of all, looking at the plans and the what the homes would look like, and then your screen share there that you just had, it really does look like it's going to be a nice development.
Thank
Just
you.
a couple questions. When looking at the plans, I thought that I saw a ranch option in the plans. Is that not going to be an option in this development?
None of the three that I showed are a ranch option. If
Right.
Mr. Obeid can maybe turn on, unmute yourself and let us know if there are any ranch plans in Pine Cove's future for this site.
We do have a ranch plan that we could offer. We offered it in our previous community in Wixom, and we do have it in our portfolio. So we can definitely offer it. I'm not sure if it'll fit in on all of the lots, but we do have one that we can offer, yes.
That was my next question. Where would it fit? Because I know the layout of a ranch requires more
Wider.
property, so I didn't know
Yeah.
if it would actually fit on any of those sites.
We'd have to go back and see if which lots it would fit on, because it is significantly wider than our colonial plans.
Mhm.
We
Okay.
could definitely do a lot fit matrix when we come back and see you for final and have that information. If we're able to add the plan, Mr. Obeid is willing to offer the plan. We could let you know when we come back around with final engineering which lots that plan would fit on.
That'd be great, because I know that ranches are a hot commodity right now, and especially in new development, you really don't see too many. So it would be kind of nice if that could be an option for people moving into
Absolutely.
Wixom or just changing homes.
Absolutely.
And then regarding the storm easement, when I was back there, it looked like that area, and I don't know exactly where the easement's going to be, but just trying to figure from the plans where that easement would be, it looked like it was low. Is there any chance that there could be flooding back there in the cemetery?
No, the easement that we're talking about is going to be in a pipe. And if you, I could, let me go back to screen share again real quick, and I want to show you something on that.
So it's not a ditch type then?
No, it does have an outlet. So where you are correct that it there is a low area. And if I go back to that blow up, what you can see here is this is all hard pipe underground. So you won't see anything here until you get to this point right here. And that's where the pipe and the ground gets low enough where the pipe is essentially out of the ground, and you have a armored channel for this dimension. And I want to say that is about 50 feet. So there is a little bit of a ditch, an armored ditch at that
Okay.
location to get to the drain in that low area that you have identified.
I just want to make sure that there's no chance of flooding in that cemetery, and anyone that has plots right in that area would be affected, of course.
Yes, and we'll, provide a detailed grading plan when we do that, but I don't see that as being an issue. But we can absolutely have detailed grading when we come through for final of that area to make sure there are no flooding issues in the cemetery, because that would not be good.
Okay.
This,
And then what is the anticipated cost of these homes going to be, or the range of cost, the price range?
I think we'll probably start in the mid 300s on up, probably looking at a median price of 400 to 450 when it's all said and done, after they've made their lot premium and their amenities and selected all of their upgrades. That's probably where we'll end up being.
And will there be then an association fee that each homeowner would have to pay?
Yeah, it's site condos, so we would establish an association, and then be an annual budget and annual dues as well.
So no idea what that would be?
No, we haven't gotten that far.
Okay. And then the trees and I'm sorry if this is laid out and I missed it, but it looks like there's a lot of trees that you're taking out, which I understand. There's a lot of trees back there and to be able to have the development. You know the number of trees, and maybe this is more of a question for Ms. McIntyre, but the number of trees that are coming out and then the number of trees that the developer will be replanting.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. McIntyre.
You can go ahead. You may go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
what I was going to say is that that was one of the revisions that we made to the plan between the Planning Commission and the City Council, and we had to revise our replacement calculation to take into account some of the trees and some of the landmark trees that we had calculated incorrectly. I do have the replacement values here. So the woodland replacements are 59 trees, and we've provided those 59 trees that are required based on the clearing that we're doing. I don't have the number at my fingertips as to how many trees we're cutting, but the ordinance is very clear on, the number that you cut translates into, by ratios, the replacements, and we've met those ordinance requirements.
So does that include then the open spaces that you show on the plans?
Yes,
The
it does.
trees in those areas? Okay.
Yeah, there's specific ways as to where you have to plant trees and how they count towards replacements. And so, yes, it does include those.
Okay. And then my last question is really for Director Moore and/or Chief Roberts regarding that passing lane and what their thoughts are and recommendations about that lane, and if it poses any issues safety-wise.
From a traffic safety perspective, Ms. Gremlin Fox, I don't see that as being a problem. Simply having the what they're proposing here as opposed to the more intrusive option that's required by ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I had. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Councilmember Gatchell, and I'll go to you, Councilmember Berman.
Thank you. Just a few things, not, I guess, directly relating to the site plan, but more so things that were in our packet before they go over to planning again. I know in previous developments, Carmen's asked that we don't mix horizontal siding with vertical siding, and I know the renderings here had a little bit of that mix. One of the most important things to me is preserving all of the screening for visitors to the cemetery along the lot lines there, and then anything that comes out for the easement at the north side for the drainage, trying to redo that. But I think all the arborvitae on the lot line are the cities, so that hopefully won't be an issue preserving all of that. And then just on the side and back elevations, making sure that we have a good amount of brick. What we have around the city a lot is like 36, 37 inches height above grade, and I would hope we can keep that consistent and not go less than that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Berman.
I guess my question maybe would be more for Tim. Giving this easement through the cemetery, how much land are we giving up that would be potential for grave sites?
I believe the total count was 20 potential graves, but there were a few of them, as was said earlier, that were in a wetter area, so that we're not planning to install them there. But that is where we got the cost for potential sites. The cost for the easements was based on the potential sites that the cemetery would have lost. But in that area, yeah, we're foregoing that. It's wet area, and we're accounting for any loss of grave sites and potentially getting additional money for, say, the columbarium to be used in its stead.
Okay, so we're not losing money by putting this easement
Right.
through there. Okay, they're
Yes,
covering
that's-
that expense.
They're covering the expense of the potential grave sites that we may have lost because of that.
And then my only other feedback is I really appreciate that the developer has come in under the current zoning. I said that with the last one that we approved. I appreciate that you guys are looking at the current zoning and putting a development in that fits in the current zoning, and it looks to be a very nice addition to the city.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation. The one question I had back to the cemetery, are there any already committed plots that adjoin the easement, Tim, or is it all newer?
It is all in the newer area.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So there,
Yep.
yeah, I appreciate that there's no existing graves, but I wonder-
Right,
committed
right now,
plots.
we don't anticipate any unexpected items coming up as they dig.
Okay.
But yeah, it's well outside of the normal area
All right.
right now. It's the newest part.
Very good. And Mr. Nolis and Mr. Obeid, your arborist did a wonderful job. Thank you for the D-size prints. They were very much appreciated from my side as well.
Yeah.
Whoever provided those, I don't know if that was Kelly or if it was the Elmore Group, but very much appreciated. One final comment on the passing lane is that I know, looking out into the future, if we set the time machine and the Landro cut goes through, the traffic density on that road will increase quite a bit because it'll be the only way to avoid a train at Wixom and Pontiac Trail. So caution there that we don't want to be too short-sighted when we look at some of these things that at some point in our history, it may be something we would regretted to have not put in. So again, just a note there. I think that's fine with the current density on Maple Road. And again, I think I've already made it my comments that the new development on Wixom Road, I'm not so happy about RCOC's assessment that there's not enough traffic density there because traffic already backs up to Charms Road southbound when school's in session. So if we have someone wanting to make a left, they're gonna have a problem. But here on Maple Road, I don't think it's gonna be an issue even with the connection to Castlewood. So thank you very much.
Welcome. Anybody else? All right, yes, thank you for the nice presentation. This is going to be a great addition to the city. I have just one question, and this is a nitpicky question, and I don't know if Kelly can answer this or City Manager Brown, but will Castlewood be changed because it won't be a court anymore?
That is a very good question. I don't think that has been discussed, so we will have to address that.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions? Seeing none, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the request from Pine Cove Investments LLC for a preliminary site condominium development of 12 single-family residential lots to be called Maple Glen condominiums. Roll call vote, please.
Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes?
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business number 2 is a recommendation to approve a request from Varsity Lincoln LLC to relocate a billboard off-premise advertising sign at 48,600 West 12 Mile Road to 48,826 West 12 Mile Road and reduce the height of the existing pole sign at 48,700 West 12 Mile Road by 6 feet. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Support.
Very good. All right. Ms. McIntyre, you're on again.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Beagle. This site plan, like you said, is to approve the relocation and actually an update of a billboard sign along I-96 The current billboard is located on property that is owned by Varsity Lincoln, commonly known as the Varsity Collision property, and that's at 48600 West 12. The applicant is proposing to remove that billboard and install actually a new billboard on the Varsity property adjacent to that, to the north. The proposed location of the actual billboard will be at the extreme northeast corner of the property. This billboard and relocation is subject to the terms of a federal court consent agreement stipulating that with the city's approval and compliance, that the billboard could be relocated to another location or property along the south side of I-96 east of Wixom Road. The stipulations that they placed in the agreement require that the sign meet the distancing and spacing requirements of the Michigan Highway Advertising Act, that the billboard not exceed 35 feet in height. The billboard may have two faces, and each face may be no larger than 14 feet by 48 feet. It may not have any moving parts. And finally, the digital message on the sign may not change more than once every 8 seconds. As proposed, the billboard does meet all of these requirements. In addition, to improve the appearance of the billboard, the applicant is proposing to wrap the poles with stone-like material. So that will improve the appearance of it. Per the consent agreement, the City Council may review and approve this sign location. Though it is not required, staff did bring this to the Planning Commission for their review. And for their recommendation. We typically, before we bring a site plan to the City Council, the Planning Commission looks at it. Again, it wasn't required, but we did have them look at it, and they provided a positive recommendation to you. In conjunction with the billboard, the applicant is also requesting that a billboard sign on Sang Tire property located 48700 West 12 Mile be reduced in size. It's a 6-foot reduction. It would go from 28 feet to 22 feet. This will help improve the visibility of the new relocated sign, but it will also bring that sign more into conformance with our ordinance. Based upon this information, the Planning Commission actually recommended approval that the relocation be permitted from 48600 West 12 to 48826 West 12 Mile Road as presented, and that permission be given to lower the pole sign on the Sang property by 6 feet. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. And we do have one of the applicants here tonight on the meeting, Mr. Stanford, correct?
Yes.
Very good.
We
All right, any
also
questions?
have, Mayor, we also have Jay Carl, who is with Prime Site Media. He is very familiar with the billboard itself, if the council has any questions.
Okay, very good. Do we have questions? Councilmember Berman.
My question slightly relates to the billboard, but more to the property it's going to. I drove down there the other day to kind of get a feel of where this was. I assume the billboard's moving to the piece of property that just has cars stored on it currently, a gravel lot.
Correct.
And I kind of feel like a gravel lot with cars being stored on it. I mean, has there been any movement to improve that property? It doesn't really look that good with the way the cars are on it now. And then moving further down the street to that triangle piece of property at the end of the street, where it looks like you guys built a display with a banner on it and put a flag in. I mean, that looks pretty bad from 12 Mile as well. Is there anything being done there to clean that up?
We addressed
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Sanford.
that last night in a planning commission meeting. The triangle piece you're speaking of on the very end was approved. We're going to come back with some recommendations from the city as to signage and lighting for the flagpole and also the display. The parcel you're that I'm moving the sign to currently is under contract to be sold to a hotel chain. Once the sign is erected, supposedly they're going to close on the property and build a hotel there.
So the piece of property that has the cars stored on it will be a hotel, and you're keeping the collision shop without the sign.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that. And I appreciate that steps are being taken on the other properties as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the request from Varsity Lincoln LLC to relocate a billboard off-premise advertising sign at 48,600 West 12 Mile Road to 48,826 West 12 Mile Road and reduce the height of an existing pole sign at 48,700 West 12 Mile Road by 6 feet. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes,
7 yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next up is new business number 3 is a recommendation to approve the contract with People's Express Incorporated to provide transportation services for the city of Wixom and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Do I have a motion?
move to approve,
Support.
Support.
Anything you want to add to this, Ms. McGee? I think you're on.
You're muted.
she's
Yeah.
muted.
Oh, I'm muted.
Oh, there you go. You're good now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so the last time we had a contract with them was 2013, and they're trying to make all their contracts consistent with the local area. And so Doug has presented with us a new contract for seniors and residents. And that's before you tonight. So if you do have any questions, Doug's here to answer them.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. Hello, Ms. McGee. Yeah, I talked to Steve about this a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to kind of go over what the questions I had for him about it. In the item, we described the difference in cost as significantly higher. We weren't sure what it was comparatively, but it's basically going up $15,000 basically, roughly rather.
Right, we had rates back from 2000, well, that's just based on what the ridership was. We had
yeah. That's all we can do
680.
is base it off of that, sure.
Right, one-way rides. This actually reduces the amount for the senior and the resident. The city does pay more, but keep in mind, we do get reimbursed by SMART through this program.
Oh, this will reduce the cost for the resident?
Yes,
Oh, good, okay. And then he also mentioned that the cap, the match is capped, and CARES is covering this for a year and maybe some for next year. Because of I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves on new business items. But basically, starting next year, there will be some out-of-pocket costs to the city. Is that
well, basically with our SMART credits that we have that we actually submit for reimbursement from what we pay to People's Express, we have not had to pay for anything for our transportation. And the CARES
right?
Act
But
is adding.
everything's
an
going
additional
up significantly, so we anticipate there will be some out-of-pocket costs for the city, not the resident. Well, kind of the same for the rider, not for the rider, but for the city and its cost.
For the city, yes.
There will be, not this year, but probably starting next year.
2023, probably.
Okay. Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify, and that's it. Thanks.
Welcome. Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
Thank you, Mayor. Deanna, I didn't see in the packet regarding liability. Does the People's Express, do they hold all the liability for the riders?
Doug, you can answer that, but in the contract, I believe, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Doug Anderson. I'm the
Hi.
director of People's Express. And yes, our liability contract, our insurance is a $5 million insurance policy. So it should cover about anything. Well, we never had to use it, so we're pretty lucky.
Well, let's hope it continues, right?
Yes.
But I didn't see any hold harmless for the city in there. No hold
You
harmless language.
Yeah, you actually get a certificate to you with your name on it every year. And the hold harmless is in your contract, I believe. But you're held harmless with our insurance.
Okay, great. That's just what I wanted to find out. Thank you so much.
Apologize for not introducing you, Mr. Anderson. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Just maybe one question, Deanna, in terms of the recent COVID and all, how has the ridership been? Is it, are people still using the service?
As a matter of fact, they still are, and the ridership has pretty much contained about its regular usage. And I would like to inform you that People's Express has waived the ridership fee for the individuals during the COVID aspect. So the riders are not paying even their $2 or $6.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
We good? Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the contract with People's Express Incorporated to provide transportation services for the city of Wickham and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up is new business number 4. It's a recommendation to approve the 2020-2021 municipal and community credit contract with the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation in the amount of $13,262 with local match funded through Oakland County Public Transportation Authority, OCPTA, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved. Support.
Support.
Very good. Ms. McGee?
This is a basic standard contract we've had for quite some time. For those of you that aren't aware that we opted out of the SMART program as far as the bus service back in 1985. That's why we get a refund back from Oakland County Transportation for half of it. It's a standard contract. And as I mentioned before, the amount that we do pay to People's Express and for charter trips, we put in for reimbursement back to the city.
Very good. Any questions? Seeing none, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the 2020-2021 municipal and community credit contract with the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation in the amount of $13,262 with local match funded through the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority, OCPTA, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Oh, dear.
7 yes.
Thank you. New business number 5 is a recommendation to approve the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act contract with the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation in the amount of $10,470 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Ms. McGee, if you want to add anything to this?
Basically, as you've approved several contracts through the CARE Act, this is just smart passing it on to the local agencies for additional funding.
Good. Any questions? All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act contract with Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation in the amount of $10,470 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Grundland Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. New business number 6 is a recommendation to authorize participation in the group purchase tag on bid option with Suttons Bay, Michigan to purchase a replacement ambulance from Osage Ambulance Company of Lynn, Mississippi through the Kodiak Emergency Vehicles of Grand Ledge, Michigan at a cost of $243,380. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Very good. Chief Roberts?
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. As you know, the current fleet is 2 vehicles, one of them being roughly 12 years old. It is a scheduled replacement. Age and cost are getting to the point where it's becoming prohibitive, and we try to keep one of the ambulances less than or at the maximum 5 years old.
Any questions for Chief? Councilmember Grundland Fox?
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Chief. Couple questions. One, what do you do with the old unit? Do you put that on BidNet or do you?
Typically, we do a trade-in, or we call it a partial payment, and we exchange it when the new vehicle arrives in the city. The current market is somewhat flush, which translates into a very, very low trade-in value, if you will. I think with the COVID-19 pandemic, it would be in the city's best interest to hold on to it for a short period of time anyways. So we have the ability to decon an ambulance when it's out of service. We can keep it in good repair and still use it as a true reserve ambulance.
Okay. And then I know in your monthly reports that you give to council, one of the things that you report on is how many transports you do. Is that something that, is that the only use that this ambulance will get is just for the transports?
So for every medical emergency we have in the city that are roughly about 1,000, we respond with 1 or 2 ambulances or simultaneous events at the same time. So they will go on roughly 1,000 calls a year in between the 2 of the units.
Okay. But as far as being used to transport,
Well,
that's a much lower.
That's absolutely the transporting unit. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Roberts, I see the tag-on option. Usually, bulk purchases, if you buy more than 1, you get a better discounted rate on 2. Is that the case here? Did Suttons Bay get a bid for, say, $250, but if you buy 2, you get them for $243 each, or?
No, not really. What really happens here is they bid it, did an official bid, and in the document it says anyone else can get a vehicle that's the same for the price that this was bid at, so that we don't have to go out and do a competitive bid because it was already done.
seems like there'd be some, if you buy one, it's somebody tags on, you get one for less. I don't know. It kind of, maybe somebody else has got one for less than 243. Or if you buy two, I don't know. It's just a strange way of doing bids, it seems to me. Two is usually cheaper than the price of one each.
Well, I think the challenge here, sir, is that when there's a tag on bid, theirs has been built. They've ordered it and it's arrived. We're not buying them together.
I get it. So this is, we're just using some previous bid process and taking that and saying, hey, that price looks pretty good. We're not really going to beat that. And we're going to use their.
Yes, sir. And you're correct. Had we gone in with Sutton's Bay or another community and bought two ambulances at one time, there would have been a discounted rate because they would have went down the assembly line, back together, So.
Okay. All right. I understand. Thank you.
It's similar to the way that we've had a lot of smart contacts with their activity tonight, and it's smart. They had the same sort of thing when they would purchase vehicles, paratransit vehicles like are used by People's Express. They would often include tag on provisions. They didn't use the word tag on or the phrase tag on, but they would allow those kind of purchases so that somebody that only has a smaller fleet could take advantage of a larger pricing that Smart was able to come up with. So there is that. In the case of the Sutton's organization, I doubt that there's a large volume there. It's just that you get the opportunity to skip the bid process and take advantage of work that was already done by another agency, essentially.
The benefit to us is the fact that they have virtually the exact same ambulance that we want, and that's why we're tagging onto their bid.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Smiley, and then I'll go to Councilmember Berman.
I had the same question. I talked to City Manager Brown last week. I was going to say he could explain it, but he has. It worked for me, but you've gotten into it, and I think it's pretty clear now. But while I got the floor, real quick, also, this saves us some time and expense of doing the whole bidding thing too. So sounds like a good way to go. That's all.
Hey, Councilmember Berman.
When we purchased the Gator, you showed us a picture. Do you have a picture of this ambulance?
I believe the director has one that's very similar.
See, it's almost like you knew where I was going with this.
I really didn't think after your tour you'd want to see a picture. I thought you'd seen it up close. So,
is it similar to the one I saw the last week at the station?
Yes.
Fair enough.
It virtually the same thing.
I know it's in budget, and I agree we need to keep these fresh. So I will support this.
Chief, why are we going with a different cab style? I know in the past we've used like the smaller cabs, and it looks like it's a different cab style. Why are we going with a different? Is there an advantage, disadvantage?
So one of the things that's going on with the COVID and engine configuration and idle hours, it's no longer, in our opinion, cost beneficial, to go with the diesel engine. And so with the F-Series or Type 1 ambulance, it's going to be a gas engine, which also reduces the cost of maintenance and the purchase price.
Very good. And then what's the turnaround time?
We're looking at about a year, 320 days.
All right. And then you've recommended that we keep the old ambulance around for a little bit. Do we have room in the garage area to keep it covered, or?
We do. With the addition of the carport, one of the pickup trucks will go outside and the ambulance will be stored in the back.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Gwendolyn Fox?
Thank you. I just thought of something when you were talking about, Chief, that it's not going to be a diesel, that this one will be gas. Do the gas engines last as long as the diesel ones?
The new gas engines do last as long, and the maintenance costs are significantly less. And we could, if necessary, and that's an if necessary, we could replace a gasoline engine and not even have to come up to the cost of the original diesel engine.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, very good. I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to authorize participation in the group purchase tag on bid option with Suttons Bay, Michigan to purchase a replacement ambulance from Osage Ambulance Company of Lynn, Mississippi through Kodiak Emergency Vehicles of Grand Ledge, Michigan at a cost of $243,380. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes,
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And keep wearing that pink, chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
New business number 7 is a recommendation to waive the bid process and authorize the purchase of 23 patrol rifles for $15,249 from the Michigan Police Equipment Company of Charlotte, Michigan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, support.
support.
Very good. Public Safety Director Moore?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. What I'm asking for this evening is approval to purchase 23 patrol rifles. Every sworn officer of the Wixom Police Department for at least the last 18 years has been assigned a patrol rifle. And the reason for that is when we initially got the patrol rifles, we assigned them per car, per patrol car. And upon speaking with our friends in federal law enforcement and our friends at the state law enforcement, it was determined that it was perhaps better, more tactically sound strategy to have a patrol rifle for each individual police officer, each individual sworn member of the department, so that when they go to the shooting range twice a year to practice with that firearm, it's sighted in exactly to the way that individual shooter shoots. So what I'm asking for this evening is permission to purchase these patrol rifles, and it would be purchased out of federal forfeiture, which is an exact perfect match to what that federal forfeiture dollars are for.
Very good. Councilmember Smiley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hello, Chief Moore.
Good evening, sir.
Just a couple of things I was curious about. Are the same number of rifles being removed from use due to the throat erosion? Which basically is a long way of asking, do we need additional rifles anyway? Is 23 coming in, 23 going out?
Approximately. I believe we are, I believe we're short. I believe we're actually short. The patrol rifle that was assigned to me, obviously I'm not using one on a daily basis. The patrol rifle that was assigned to me was re-gifted, if you will, to a junior police officer. So by purchasing the 23, that will accomplish every sworn police officer, including myself, as well as 2 spares.
Gotcha. Okay. And then it seems like a dumb question, but the $400, is that $400 each rifle getting, on the value on the resale, or I forget who we're selling them off, selling the old ones off to?
Yes, sir. That's $400 per unit, per firearm.
And I assume they're repairable if the throat erosion is a problem, and it's safe for some people to use them.
For a private purchaser, I certainly wouldn't want to see it go into the hands of another law enforcement agency, because the possibility does exist for barrel wear and for the tumbling of the bullet as it goes through the barrel, which decreases accuracy. I would hate to see those firearms go into the hands of another law enforcement agency, but for the private purchaser through an FFL, a federal firearms licensee, I see no reason why that would not be a good firearm for the rest of that person's life.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. That's all I had.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Moore, my question is about the used rifles. I wasn't sure either on the 400, whether it's per rifle or for everything. But would it be prudent for the city to just destroy those rifles rather than put them out into the public hands in any form? I mean, there's whole programs about reclaiming guns, and some places buy guns just to destroy. I was just wondering how that would happen. Would that come back to council to sell them? Or could we make an amendment to this motion to destroy the old guns possibly? It just feels like if they're not good, let's just destroy them. And why put them out in the public hands where who knows where they're going to end up? And just feels like maybe that's the right thing to do with them.
Mr. Sharp, I can tell you the police department has a rather lengthy history of allowing the employees to purchase the firearm that was assigned to them. So when we transition to a new pistol, perhaps the officer for sentimental reasons might want to purchase his or her pistol that they were first assigned. I have the feeling that some of the police officers for those same sentimental reasons might wish to purchase their rifle. And I can tell you that Michigan Police Equipment in the past has been somewhat enthusiastic about purchasing our firearms from us. So whether or not they should be disposed of, I guess that's more of a philosophical discussion maybe that we could have. I think if we're able to get money for them, revenue coming in, I guess I don't see a reason why we couldn't or shouldn't.
But you said that you would hate to see them go into police department, and yet Michigan Police Supply Company wants to buy them from us.
Yes, they also, being Michigan Police Equipment, being an FFL, a federal firearms licensee, they also sell firearms to the public. So with the throat erosion issue and Michigan Police Equipment being a very reputable organization, I would almost guarantee that Michigan Police Equipment is not going to put these firearms into the hands of a sworn police officer in another law enforcement agency.
I kind of want to amend the motion, ask for an amendment, Mr. Mayor, to make a motion to amend to destroy the old firearms upon replacement with the new ones. I imagine that takes a second, and maybe I won't have any support, and that's fine.
I'll second that.
Okay, now, do we want to add on to that before they're destroyed, if the officer assigned to the rifle right now, if he likes to purchase it, he can purchase it. If not, they'll be destroyed, or you just want to destroy all of them?
I'll leave it as I said it.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, we have to take a vote on this first before there's any more discussion, correct?
You can
Yes.
discuss the
Yeah.
motion.
You can have discussion
Yeah,
on
we
it.
can discuss the amended motion.
Okay. So, Councilmember Smiley?
I guess I wanted to make a case for not even doing that part, but I'll just say what I want to say. So, Chief Moore alluded to some of this. The bullets, the throat issue, makes the bullets tumble a little bit, which will cause accuracy problems, which is something you don't want to have your police officers having to deal with. But your private guy going to the range, he knows what he's getting into. It's what I was trying to get at was, I'm not sure it's really a safety issue. I believe you said at worst it causes a misfire or affects the shooter's accuracy. So I already said, accuracy we can all connect with. It's not a danger. A misfire isn't necessarily dangerous either, unless you don't know how to handle a misfire. Chief Moore, perhaps you could elaborate on that a little better than I could. But I think this is just a quality issue that at worst, not a safety issue. So I have no problem with this going into the hands of private users. If it was a safety issue, I think, there'd be a totally different conversation going on. But I'd like to defer the rest of that to Chief Moore to see if, he could clean up what I just tried to say.
I'll try, Mr. Smiley. If you're discussing a use of force situation where lethal force is required, I certainly, my desire, and I'm sure it's your desire as well, is to have the Wixom Police Department have the best equipment that, after conducting the cost benefit analysis, and if we're seeing signs of some of this throat erosion, and we know from what the firearms experts and the armorers, the trained armorers tell us, that this throat erosion can cause the bullet to slightly tumble as it spins through the barrel and have accuracy issues. If the police officer is put into a lethal force situation, certainly it's probably time to take a look at updating our current inventory. If you're going to put these firearms through an FFL, a federal firearms licensee, if you're going to put them into the hands of a private owner who may use it for target practice, he or she may use it for hunting, perhaps. I don't know. I don't own one of these firearms myself. I guess I don't see it because potentially that private owner isn't going to be forced into possibly isn't going to be forced into a lethal force situation like a police officer might. I guess I don't see the problem with it going to a private ownership through the means of a reputable FFL.
Yeah, but I mean, could you just clean up a misfire isn't necessarily dangerous
The only time
to the shooter.
the only time a misfire would be dangerous is if the police officer needs to execute deadly force and he's unable to because when he pulls the trigger, nothing happens.
No, right. I'm sorry. I don't think there's any question about replacing them for the police, for our police officers. This is all about, putting them out into a private owner's use, where they could get hurt because of the throat issues, throat erosion. And what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's a safety issue. It's only at worst, a quality issue.
Mr. Smiley, if you're asking, would the shooter or potential shooter get hurt in any way by pulling the trigger and having nothing happen through the form of a misfire? If that's the question, then yes, I will tell you that nothing's going to happen. There should be no explosion. There should be no release of gases or projectiles that's going to hurt the shooter during the process of a misfire.
So if with safety not being a concern with the resale of these older rifles, is it possible we could rescind, take back the amendment to the motion? I guess it's up to Councilman Sharp, right?
Point of order. There was an amendment to the motion, so we will vote on the amendment to the motion, and then we will vote on the original motion, whether or not it's amended or not amended. Does that make sense?
Right. But you could rescind that amendment motion if this explanation was satisfactory, I guess. What I'm hoping for.
Councilmember Berman, and then I'll go to Councilmember Grenville Fox.
My belief is that we should be looking out for the financial best interest of our community. If we're talking about turning over 14 to 15 of these rifles at $400 each, that's close to $7,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Public Safety Director Moore, but that's money that would go back into your budget, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And the amount of time that we spent debating that powered bike that you wanted to patrol the trails, I think this is money that could very easily be spent on that. And I'd much rather see those rifles turn into a powered bike on the trails than on us just to flush $7,000 down the drain because we simply don't want to turn them over to a licensed gun dealer. More importantly, going to a licensed gun dealer, they're not going to be sold to just anyone. They're going to, I mean, the licensed gun dealer is going to take due diligence on who they sell them to. And then moreover, the liability is on the gun dealer who's selling them. If anything was to come back, it's not going to come back on the city for it being our old gun, correct?
That sounds reasonable, Mr. Behrman. Yes, if an FFL is selling.
So I would definitely vote no to the amendment made to the motion.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
Through the mayor, I have a question for the maker of the amended motion. So Councilmember Sharp. May I?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Go ahead. So Peter, was your, just trying to get a better idea of where you were going. Was it so much the concern for the people that were buying the guns, the safety factor of the issue of the guns, or was it more concern about the guns getting in the hands of the wrong people, or both?
It's purely about, there are whole programs out there sponsored by cities to buy back guns and destroy them. And instead, we're going to be selling guns to the public. And it just doesn't feel like it's consistent with the thought of reducing gun violence and making more guns available to the general public. If somebody wants a gun, go pay your hard-earned money for a brand new, good or used gun on the market. But why is the city facilitating that, putting more guns on the streets? It's as simple as that.
Understand. So Chief Moore, is there a way, can you sell those guns to somebody that will melt them down and get the raw material? Can we make money off of them that way?
Possibly. I would have to investigate that.
So we'd still get money from the guns, but it would just be, instead of the actual gun, it would be, the city would be getting money for the melted down metal, I guess.
It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. I would have to investigate that.
Okay. I'd be in favor of that, actually.
Public Safety Director Moore, do we have to make a decision tonight on what we do with the old rifles, or can we approve the bid tonight to purchase the new rifles and have you come back at maybe the November 10th council meeting with a report on selling them to melt down the guns, or however you want to do it, versus the selling them back to the Michigan Police Equipment Company? Can we do that? Can we do something like that?
Certainly, I'm happy to investigate any option.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to withdraw my motion as long as there's a council agreement here that we don't dispose of the old guns until council decides how to dispose of them, whether it's sale or destruction.
Okay.
Said like a tag on amendment to this.
Do we tag on?
We haven't voted on the amendment yet. You can rescind it, right?
The only problem of voting to turn it down is I'm concerned that then that sets a precedent that we never look at it again.
Yeah, because we may get $400 now, but you may sell. We may find out that the company that takes these guns and melts them down gives us $400, or gives us close enough where we'll still get some money in. And I have no idea.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that.
I have no idea what
scrap metal isn't that expensive. It costs more to melt it than it's worth.
But I would like to see us first offer them to the officers, and if the officers don't want to purchase them, then maybe go to an alternate route.
I'd be amenable to talking about that next time, but
okay.
like a plan per gun or something. I don't know what we have to do tonight, though, since we got a motion in a second.
Steve, you got a puzzled look on your face. You want to,
Yeah, if I could just weigh in real quickly, as the mayor said a moment ago, I believe, I mean, there's nothing in the motion that says we're doing anything with the rifles. So I don't think that we need to take any action on directing that we investigate or anything else. The public safety director just talked about the fact that he'd check into the other options and we can come back with a report and say, these are our options. And that would be the end of it. I don't know that we were going to bring it back to council to talk about what we were going to do with the rifles originally, but now that it's been a source of this kind of discussion, we definitely will. So.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Moore, it also says in your report here that you tested one of the guns and found throat erosion. They don't all necessarily have throat erosion either.
That's correct. That's correct, Mr. Smiley.
Is it expensive and time consuming to test them all?
Not at all, sir.
Okay, so I mean, one of the things if it's not too much time and effort, it might be worth, checking to see if the rest of them are an issue anyway. This might be one rifle that's got an issue and the police officer who used to own it is attached to it and wants it, and heck, I'll take one, but I want yours. Or what used to be yours.
Hardly used.
Well, won't get used much with me either. All right, that's enough, I guess. Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? All right. Let me see if I got this right here. I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to waive the bid process and authorize the purchase of 23 patrol rifles for $15,249 from Michigan Police Equipment Company of Charlotte, Michigan. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
We have to vote on the amendment first, I thought.
I thought you withdrew the amendment, but
Under
Am I
the
allowed to do that? Councilmember Gottschall seemed to think I wasn't able to do that.
If you wanted to if you wanted to rescind that, I'll rescind my second. But if you wanted to tie it into having a comeback before us as like a mandated thing instead of a general consensus that it'll happen, then that's.
I'm generally satisfied that Director Moore and City Manager Brown will bring it back to council.
Rescinded.
all right.
So I rescind
You
my.
want to see a picture of it?
My amendment.
No, all right. So again, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to waive the bid process and authorize the purchase of 23 patrol rifles for $15,249 from Michigan Police Equipment Company of Charlotte, Michigan. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gottschall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you. And yeah,
Thank you very
Ron,
much.
you're welcome. And at the November 10th meeting, can you come back to us with a report on what you find out?
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Welcome.
New business number 8 is a recommendation to award a 3-year contract to Metro Environmental Services of Wall Lake, Michigan for street sweeping in an annual amount not to exceed $27,885 and for sewer inspection, cleaning, and repair an annual amount not to exceed $60,000 with 2 additional option years at 3% annual increases. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Or
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Sigma on this? Getting off easy, Tim. I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award a 3-year contract to Metro Environmental Services Incorporated of Wall Lake, Michigan for street sweeping in an annual amount not to exceed $27,885 and for sewer inspection, cleaning, and repair an annual amount not to exceed $60,000 with 2 additional option years at 3% annual increases. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Beagle,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes?
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotcho,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. New business number 9 is a recommendation to adopt an agreement with the Road Commission for Oakland County to cover 25% of the cost of installation, removal, maintenance, and operation of the traffic control device at the corner of Grand River and Wixom Road, and to authorize the DPW director to sign and execute the agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
support,
Thanks. Tim, you want to explain this one, please?
So Oakland County had presented a change to this intersection to take out the permissive left turn, meaning that the left turn would be only on a green light and no flashing yellow. The reason for that is too many people in the past have unsafely tried to make a left turn, and collisions had ensued. So in lieu of that, we are they're going to change this lighting system. So part of it is going to be changing the electronics for that, and then also they're going to remove the back of the light itself and have it be more reflective. This is similar to the changes that they have already done on Beck Road and Grand River, and it will be in line, I guess, with the future changes that will take place in 2023 when they upgrade the Grand River Road. So that'll be in compliance with that.
Thanks. Public Safety Director Moore, that's our most dangerous intersection, right, with a number of accidents, would you say?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. That is a hot spot.
Okay, so this could help some of that.
I hope so.
Any questions? Councilmember Berman?
Are they changing the color like they did at Beck Road, how they made them green?
Nope. It'll be a reflective plating, so it'll have that 3 diamond grade reflective back to the light, and it'll be more the LED style.
So they're not
So,
changing
yeah.
all the poles and everything, just the lights
No,
themselves?
just the light itself.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question about the financing of it. I'm sure this is me. I'm just a little confused by the packet. It first seemed to read that, the RCOC will cover 25%, but it looks more like you're reading further, it's 75%. So is it costing Wixom $10,000 and the RCOC $30,000?
Yes, it's costing Wixom $10,000, and the total cost is $40,000.
Okay.
The other portions of this road, because it is still considered in Wixom, a quarter of the responsibility is part of Wixom, and the other parts are the responsibility of RCOC.
Okay, good. Well, it's better than $40,000. Something we should do.
That's right.
All right. Thanks for cleaning that up, Tim.
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to adopt an agreement with the Road Commission of Oakland County to cover 25% of the cost, installation, removal, maintenance, and operation of the traffic control device at the corner of Grand River and Wixom Road, and authorize the DPW director to sign and execute the agreement. Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes?
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotcho,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. New business number 10 is a recommendation to waive the bid process and authorize an emergency purchase of parts for the 12-inch trailer-mounted brush chipper from Vermeer of Fowlerville, Michigan, as the sole source supplier for a cost not to exceed $5,405.49. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Any questions? Councilmember Sharp?
Yeah, Director Sickman, when this gets fixed, will it help suck up more leaves in my neighborhood? Because I missed I think I missed the first pass. No leaves had fallen yet.
Nope, no. This is for tree branches only, but I can assure you that we will be back through your neighborhood to pick up the leaves with our leaf pickup machine.
You take
We had,
down.
we had a rainy week when we were on schedule. I don't think many got picked up.
We will be back through.
You take down the branches, you don't have to worry about the leaves.
This is true.
Good point.
Hey, Tim,
Yes,
if I'm reading this right, this chipper was purchased in 2006, correct?
that's correct.
Is it worth putting $5,400 into it?
Well, a new machine will be about $32,000, and we did not have that in the budget. It's lasted this long, and it's the 90% of the moving parts of the machine. So we're thinking that we're going to be able to get another 10 years out of it after putting in the 5,000.
All right, you're on tape for saying 10 years.
I know, I just said that on tape,
'Cause-
rats, and it's recorded.
'Cause my
Next
fear
budget
was,
session.
my fear was,
You may
yeah,
see it.
put
You may
this
see
after
it in
the,
year 10.
put this on after the wing plow. But that was my fear, was we put $5,400 into it, and then you come to us in July and say, hey, it's shot, so.
No, that's at 2030, he's going to be coming back.
2030. Oh, yes.
You know,
All right.
you and Tom are the only ones who are here for that wing plow that keeps coming. You and Deputy Mayor are the only ones who were around for that wing plow story that keeps coming up. That's before the rest of our time.
Yeah.
I didn't second the guarantee, by the way, just for the record. So
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Tim. Any other questions for Director Sigma on this? All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to waive the bid process and authorize an emergency purchase for parts for the 12-inch trailer mounted brush chipper from Vermeer of Michigan of Fowlerville, Michigan, as the sole source supplier for cost not to exceed $5,405.49. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gacho,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes,
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. New business number 11 is a recommendation to authorize a resolution to adopt a policy relative to the review and granting of financial poverty hardship exemptions by the City of Wixom Board of Review. Do I have a motion?
so move.
Support.
You. City Manager Brown?
nothing here other than a kind of a routine update to a form.
All right, any questions? Councilmember Smiley?
I know part of my question was that, yeah, is this just a simple update to a form? There's no changes to the policy or the requirements, in the content of the form, correct?
Correct. I think there's just some basic tweaks to go along with things that have been changed administratively in Oakland County. I don't think there's anything substantive at all.
And we don't control any of the criteria to the application anyway, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's all.
Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, I'm new to this one. This isn't an exemption permanently. Is this like a temporary exemption due to poverty? You still ultimately have to pay your property taxes, don't you? Or is there some reduction because of your financial state?
Yeah, I mean, it's a what would be a temporary, as in a 1-year reduction because of circumstances in your life type of thing. If you had some sort of a hardship that you could document for the city first and the county second to ask for a break from your taxes, it's not a deferral. It would be a temporary one time only reduction.
Oh, it is. Okay.
To my knowledge.
So the hardship weighs into the decision about whether to reduce if you're appealing your taxes for a year, the hardship would weigh into how much you might get
Correct. Case by case
reduction.
Circumstances dictate what gets done. Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Maybe just to add some clarity to it, each year the Department of Health and Human Services issues the poverty guidelines, and those change as time goes on as well. So
That's the table, right? So the form's not changing, but there's a table that's referenced with that form. Correct.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to authorize a resolution to adopt the policy relative to the review and granting of financial poverty hardship exemptions by the City of Wixom Board of Review. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Mayor Beagle,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. New business number 12 is a recommendation to accept the recommendation of the Cemetery Board and update pricing for the Wixom Cemetery to reflect cost increases for the burial plots and add pricing for columbarium niches, including discounts through December 31st, 2020. So a motion?
So moved.
Move to approve. Support.
Very good. Any questions? Councilmember Grenlund Fox?
Thank you, Mayor. Do these prices on here, do they include the opening and the closing of the grave, or is that additional?
Tim, you want to answer?
Yes, that would be an additional cost because that service is provided by the cemetery sexton. And we're in the process of bidding that work out, or we will be having a RFP go out for that piece, but we're not quite sure what that number is at this time. That is,
Okay.
the costs that are here are just the city's expenses for providing the space for the cremated remains.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Berman?
I know this was asked before and we've been told that there's plenty of space, but with us taking 20 sites offline for that easement, how many burial plots do we have left on any kind of estimate?
City clerk may be better suited to speak on that. I believe it's hundreds that we have still.
I would agree with that. I'm sorry I don't have an exact number, but there are many, many lots, especially along that first drive to the west.
So
the other thing I would mention as well, I was going to provide it. I didn't get a chance to get it out to council before tonight. I apologize. It could have been timely for this discussion, but I'm going to get you a copy of a article that was in Cranes citing the growing tendency of people to choose cremation over burial. So the demand for burial plots is going down precipitously. The demand for cremation services and associated things like columbarium spaces and things of that nature are going up very, very quickly, as has been discussed in front of the cemetery board with people in the industry. And I was going to provide that article. I just didn't get a chance to get it out before today, but the numbers are expected to go into the vast majority of burials becoming cremations as opposed to burial plots within the next 10 to 15 years. My memory serves.
The proposed rates for the columbarium are going to more than cover the expense of it.
Yes.
If my math serves me right from what we just paid for it.
That's one of the benefits of a columbarium potentially is that it just adds to the revenue stream for a cemetery operation like ours. One of the things that's kind of common in the industry is not having adequate funding available for perpetual maintenance of the cemetery, and that's the reason why a lot of municipalities are becoming owners of cemeteries, because of private ownership ceding control of it because they didn't take care of business the proper way and they don't have the means to take care of the cemetery in perpetuity. And that's going to be a challenge for us as well. And with the columbarium adding those additional funds, that will be something that we can use to defer those future maintenance costs on the cemetery.
Seeing the discounted rate to the end of the year, is that incentive to get people to buy their spot prior to them the prices going up?
Correct. It's just an effort to spur demand at the front end to get people to make quick decisions to participate because of the discount. That's the theory behind it. Correct.
And it wouldn't make sense to keep that discount on the burial plots too through the end of the year and do a promotion. Hey, buy now, the price is going up in 2 months. Or
I suppose you can make the case. The reason it was done on the columbarium is the novelty of it, the new service aspect of it, and perhaps getting people that were thinking about it to make the move and make a decision and make the commitment sooner. That's the only thing I can say about that. You could make the same decision on a burial plot, I suppose. But the idea was the columbarium being a new service. That was the idea, to try to get high subscription rate up front, and to offset the cost of the purchase of the columbarium quicker. I think is part of the mindset behind that. With the burial plots, I mean, there's no upfront additional capital investment like this columbarium represents for us.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
On the columbarium, the rate, the columbarium is big enough for 2 urns. So if like a husband and wife want to be in there, is it $12.50 each, or is it $12.50 for one spot?
Tim, I'll let you cover that. I missed all of the nitty-gritty discussions at the time because of some problems we were having at the time. So
it is $12.50 each.
Okay. We might maybe want to make a note of that or something. So, Councilmember Gremlin Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just looking at this when City Manager Brown was talking. I noticed that for the burials, the plots, there is not a veteran discount. There is for the columbarium, but it doesn't look like there is for the burial plots.
that's correct. Not discussed
Is
at
that
the time
on
of the
purpose, or-
cemetery board.
We have not discussed that.
Can we? I mean,
Absolutely.
if I just think if we're going to give a discount, you know, for the columbarium, it'd be nice to give a veteran a discount for the plot as well, if that's something we can do.
It's a valid question. We can bring it up with the cemetery board next time around. We're going to start working these guys hard here. They usually meet once a year, and I think we've had them meet like 3 times in the past 6 months.
3 times already.
We're going to start demanding a raise. But fortunately, 10% on top of 0 is still 0, so it won't matter. So
That's true. But yeah, if you could bring that up, that'd be great.
yeah, we can bring it up for discussion.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Maybe just a clarification, Mr. Sickham. I believe that and I haven't read the cemetery board minutes yet, but that price is per niche, correct?
That is correct.
State law allows up to 2 sets of cremains to be put into a single.
In one niche.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if that helps answer Pat's, or Mayor Beagle's question.
That is a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
There are double niches plus. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Councilmember Gaccio.
Thank you. Is there a list anywhere of where we kind of shopped around these costs compared to others in the area?
Yes, I provided that to the cemetery trustees. And we can provide it to you as well.
Yeah, I didn't see that in the packet. Where does this put us in relation to other cemeteries?
It does put us about on the upper end. We're not the highest, but most of the cemeteries that I spoke to, and Kathy also helped with that survey, they have not changed their rates in a number of years. So there is that piece that we may be the first on this, but it's because of the columbariums that changed these rates.
And part of the theory on that being on the upper end of the above average costs on that is in relation to the popularity of the service as well. When you haven't changed your rates in a pretty long period of time, which is pretty typical for these other cemetery operations, they were setting those prices before the cremation services became as popular as they are already and as they promise to be in the coming years. So that's partly what was baked into it as well. Their services are probably underpriced at this point in time based on the market demand for that service versus burial plots.
I guess I'm looking more at the burial plots than the columbarium changes, because we're adding that, so the pricing is completely new, but the rate increases to the actual burial plots. To me, I feel like in the past I've heard that we don't sell as many plots as we'd like, or things are slow, and so we hear that from time to time, and now we're saying let's raise everything by a couple $100. It doesn't match up to my mind.
I thought you were speaking of the columbarium rates. Tim, do you have a comment on the burial plot?
So the burial plots, one of the comments or one of the recommendations that we had from our funeral directors is we were running a little bit low on pricing, and was recommending that we consider an increase. And looking at the other numbers, it did seem to warrant those numbers. So that's why we put them in where we did.
I guess, are we losing money on this?
Losing money.
I don't understand whether we're low or high. Like, it's not a capitalism thing to me. I mean, funerals and burials already cost enough.
It's a perpetual. It's a way to preserve the integrity of the cemetery. It preserves the maintenance for years into the future. And one of the other comments that our funeral director made is you can really understand the thoughts and values of a community based on how they take care of their cemetery. And we feel that these are our relatives, our friends in this area, and that's the value that we had set on it for the future of the operation and maintenance of the cemetery and the general look of the cemetery.
I guess I'm not trying to go down that road, because our cemetery budget, I think, is one of the smaller ones we have in the entire city.
Yes.
So it's not like we're going crazy here, and if we don't raise it $200, then the cemetery is not going to look great. I mean, it's pretty bare bones budget wise compared to a bunch of other things already. I think we can afford it without the rate increase.
It's just a matter of balancing the revenue stream with what you're going to incur in the future, because with the burial plots finite supply, sometime you won't be able to sell those plots, and then you're going to be stuck with the maintenance of those plots without incoming revenue to offset it. Theoretically, the revenue that you've achieved over the years is going to help you to pay for that going into the future, right? And that's the purpose of keeping the costs in line with the market, essentially, and that's the only reason for the change here. And I would say on the burial plots that's more or less where we are. We've established ourselves back in line with surrounding cemeteries in terms of our costs being comparable now as opposed to being low. And that was kind of part of the recommendation from the funeral home director that we were working with to talk about these kind of things.
I guess I'm just going to make a motion at this point to pull out the burial plot addition, proposed rate increases, and we can bring that back and hopefully have some information about how those prices line up with other cemeteries in the area and our sales rate of plots over the last 10 years, we'll call it, or something like that, to see where things stand. I don't think adding extra costs to this helps our residents or anyone that wants to be buried there. The columbarium, it's new. We have to add those rates, but I'm not sold on the burial plot increase. So that's my motion.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second his motion.
Deputy Mayor Resnick?
I think, and I was going to send the Cranes article around myself when it came out, just so we could look at it, but it talks extensively about the sad state of some of the legacy cemeteries in southeastern Michigan that did not plan for the perpetuity aspect of the cemetery, and how once the plots are gone, there's no more revenue coming in. So I support the increase. I happen to know a lot of the neighboring communities charge over $1,500 for a burial plot. And in addition to that, there's an additional cost to open it and close it. So I think the cost of $700 isn't bad. It's, you know, still a bargain. Let's put it that way. So I support the original motion.
Councilmember Gremlin Fox?
I'm just trying to figure out who this would go to. So in talking about this, I think that Deputy Mayor Resnick is correct that this is pretty low when you look at other communities, cemeteries as well as private cemeteries. But I understand where Keenan's coming from, or Councilmember Batchel's coming from. I'm just wondering if we kept the rate for the resident the same, but made a bigger gap between a resident and non-resident, because there's not that much of a difference. We're not giving residents that big of a price break compared to non-residents. I'm just wondering what Councilmember Gatchel would feel about that, because I would support that, leaving the current rate the same for the resident, but increasing the gap for the non-resident.
I'm not sure that would necessarily suffice. I'm just thinking, I mean, it's nice, but thinking about people who want to come back and be buried with their parents, for example, who aren't residents and didn't already buy plots or something like that. Not sure that they'd be buried in the plot right next to their family members, but it's just one of those things where I don't feel like we have all the information on that one. So I would like to dig a little bit deeper, and I don't think there's any emergency that's causing us to need to do that tonight necessarily.
Could we get the rates then for the surrounding cemeteries? And
I mean,
then
Tim, you have a spreadsheet. Do you have the spreadsheet in front of you? There's not that much data on there. If you want to go through it, you can go through it.
Yep, let me, I was just trying to call it up here.
If we don't, if we don't have the information, we could just vote on the columbarium prices tonight, because you're gonna have to come back to us at a later date with, if we're gonna give a discount for veterans. So we could just deal with that at that time, and just go with the columbarium prices tonight, come back to us with the new prices and the discounts for being a veteran for a burial plot.
Essentially what my motion was pull out the burial plots, vote on columbarium prices tonight.
So are you making a motion to table the discussion on the burial plots, or are you making a motion to strike it from the increase?
I could
strike it from
make
the
a motion.
recommendation tonight.
I mean, if I can, through the chair, if that's the direction you want to go, all you got to do is you just delete to reflect cost increases for burial plots and instead say add pricing, to add pricing for columbarium niches. You just strike the language relating to reflecting cost increases for burial plots.
Okay.
That's the desire of council.
That's what I meant.
Be a little pretty slick and easy there, and we're done.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? All right, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation, to accept the recommendation of the cemetery board and update pricing for the Wixom Cemetery to reflect pricing for the columbarium niches, including discounts through December 31st, 2020.
Now, point of order, we have to vote on the amendment first, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
It was, when that, was that?
Do we have to vote on Keen's amendment?
I thought that was the amendment.
I guess just to clarify, we're voting right now on whether we remove the burial plot rate increases.
Okay. Okay, well, I thought that's what I was doing when I deleted that, but.
Sounded like you were giving the restated motion with it removed. That's why I wasn't sure.
Yes, you could vote on the amendment to amend it that way, and then I guess you vote on the amended motion if you wanted to get down to the Robert's Rules of Order. I think that's probably
Right, so-
Kathy, the closest thing to an expert there. Kathy, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
So first, we're voting on the amendment to exclude the cost increases for burial plots, correct?
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
No.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
No.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
No,
Councilmember Behrman,
No.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
3 yes, 4 no.
Okay, so now we go back to the original motion. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to accept the recommendation of the cemetery board and update pricing for the Wixom Cemetery to reflect cost increases for burial plots and add pricing for columbarium niches, including discounts through December 31st, 2020. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
yes,
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
No.
Councilmember Grunland Fox,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, the last item of business here is new business number 13, a recommendation to amend the contract with Environmental Resource Group, ERG, to modify the biosolid treatment system intended to remove per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, through the installation of an additional granular activated carbon, GAC vessel, or the introduction of additional GAC to existing vessels as necessary at an additional cost of $33,750. City Manager Brown?
Is there a motion?
We have a motion.
so moved.
I'm sorry.
Support.
All right, we do it now. We have motion and support. City Manager Brown?
Right, so this came up in the middle of the workday today where we had a situation where we had a grant that was provided to us through the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for half of the cost of this treatment system to handle the removal of these PFAS substances from biosolids that have been stored at the wastewater treatment plant for some period of time. It came out of an agreement with that same department at the state to address that issue. They provided a grant to partially fund that at 50%. And we had gone through into an agreement with Environmental Resource Group to do that at a cost of $700,000. There were 3 vessels that would contain the granular activated carbon that we would run these biosolids through so that we could first dispose of the remaining liquid through our wastewater treatment processes, and then the solids through disposal at a typical facility that accepts those things, in our case, Waste Management's landfill. So the idea was that this treatment process was going to take care of that, get us into compliance, and allow us to dispose of those materials like I discussed. After we started the implementation of the system, we're not getting down to the number that we need to get down to in terms of the regulatory limits that are out there for PFAS. And at first, Environmental Resources Group had talked to us about doing an additional vessel was going to be required. We weren't sure if that was going to be something that would be funded under the grant or not. Subsequent to that, we had some more discussions with Environmental Resource Group where they indicated that there would be a possibility that we would not have to add a 4th vessel and an additional granular activated carbon there, but we may be able to just add additional granular activated carbon to the existing 3 vessels, increasing the amount of filtration and treatment in each one of those vessels and get down to the number that we're searching for. So what we're asking for today, it's a little bit unwieldy because we're just now getting into the process of figuring this out. But we have a treatment process that's in place that we're renting. If we were to let it lapse for 2 weeks without any additional activity, we would have probably been in a situation where we'd have to re-up for a longer period of time, costing ourselves more money. So what we're putting before you today is just a request for approval for us to amend the contract with Environmental Resource Group in whatever way becomes necessary. It will either be by adding an additional treatment vessel or by adding additional granular activated carbon to the existing vessels, which might result in 0 or minimal cost increase. Also, during the scope of conversations today, the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy did indicate there was some potential for them to cover half the cost on that with an amendment to the grant. So there's some things that are still in play that have to be figured out, but we did not want to lose the time and potentially cost ourselves more money. So we're asking for approval from the council to take either or action, whether it's the more intensive, more costly option of adding a vessel, or if it's the less intensive and less costly adding of granular activated carbon. We will report back to you on that outcome and let you know how it worked out. But the approval we're seeking would allow us to spend up to $33,750 to address this in whatever fashion is necessary. Hopefully the least intensive one, which will be 0 or very minimal cost. So I did my best there. If there's anything that you want to ask for more detail on, we'd be happy to try to do our best to answer that at this point in time with the information we do have.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you. Mr. Sikma, in terms of the GAC filters at the outbound sources, right? We had talked about that. Those have been added then?
So this is a temporary operation that has been placed between the digester and the land application tanks at the treatment. We don't have
the stuff coming in is cleaned up, correct?
Oh, yes, correct. The biosolids that we're treating now have been retained, if you will, at the plant since 2017.
Okay, all right.
And yes.
Comfortable with the PFAS levels coming on the outbound side of the offenders?
Right. Yeah, they have. We haven't quite met our limits on the discharge yet, but
on our discharge.
Our discharges, and that's we're still investigating some of that. We're thinking some of it's because of the collection system still in the system and not through as quickly as we'd hoped. But the industries are reaching their limits of non-detection of PFAS.
Okay. Yes. Okay, thank you.
So these are biosolids that we've retained because we knew they were contaminated with PFAS. We weren't able to discharge them safely and in compliance with the regulations that we were faced with. Now we're putting in this treatment process to get them to that point so that we can discharge them and get them through the system in whatever fashion makes sense.
Councilmember Gremlin Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. And Tim, I know I asked you about the grant in a previous agenda item, but now there's also a grant for this as well, correct?
This is
Same
the,
grant.
Or it's the same grant?
yes. For
Okay.
7, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Berman.
And this is a question for Tim. This is the tent that was set up that you showed me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
They were just starting the operation.
So
Yes.
this is that semi-trailer that had the blue tanks on it. You're looking to possibly do a 4th tank?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that makes sense, because that's what you were saying. It was stored next to it that we're sorting out. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to amend the contract with Environmental Resource Group, ERG, to modify the biosolid treatment system intended to remove per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, through the installation of an additional granular activated carbon GAC vessel, or the introduction of additional GAC to existing vessels as necessary at an additional cost of up to $33,750. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick, Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Gremlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
that concludes new business for tonight. Up next is the second call to the public. I see we have a couple of people hanging on here, so I'll read those rules once again. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority of vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council, and all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. And if you wish to speak, please press *9 on your telephone keypad. That'll indicate a raised hand and we will get you into the meeting. Do we have anybody for the second call to the public?
No hands raised at the moment.
All right, I'll close the second call to the public and move on to city manager comments.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've got 14 employees celebrating various years of service with the city, stretching from 1 year on up to 10 years in this group. So congratulations to everybody who's celebrating their work anniversary. Wanted to provide the information related to our closures and the election that's coming up here. With the general election, we had some recommendations that anybody who has a voting operation that sort of takes place in the middle of their municipal operations should likely consider closing for the day on election day. We are going to close to the public for non-election business on November 3rd, the day of the general election. Obviously, people are going to be a lot of people through City Hall for the general election if everything goes as expected. So we are going to close to the public for regular city business that day. We're going to still encourage employees that have work to do to come in to take care of the processing of basic behind the scenes kind of stuff. But we will be closed for public interactions that day other than the election. And then on November 4th, we typically, when we have a lot of people come through the city with the COVID pandemic, we've gone to the practice of doing an intensive cleaning. That's scheduled, unfortunately, for just about the middle of the day. And there's a period of time beforehand and a period of time after that makes that impossible for employees to be present. So we're going to close on November 4th as well to make sure that that gets taken care of in a timely fashion and then bring people back to work on Thursday. So we're going to encourage people to either work from home on Wednesday or Thursday, and possibly work, Tuesday or Wednesday, and then within City Hall behind the closed blinds and those kind of things on Tuesday if they have payroll processing and accounts payable and things of that nature to take care of. So that's going to be the case, the closure for non-election business on Tuesday and a full closure on Wednesday, November 3rd and the 4th. The other stuff that's on there, there's a lot of important information in there in the city manager update. Census efforts did close on October 15th. We'll do a report on that once we get some better information about the outcome. So we'll be in touch on that. There's a variety of things that were listed about things that were brought up for prior inquiries from council at prior council meetings. And the last thing that I was going to make mention of is just another impressive stat that's continued. Our tax collections are still running ahead of 2019 in spite of the effects of the pandemic, which is a tribute to the residents, business owners, and other taxpayers that are involved in the city of Wixom, that they're continuing to take care of their tax obligations. We're actually 1% ahead of last year at a comparable point in time. So that's good news for the city as well. So I wanted to share that information. There's some information on various upcoming dates to remember as well. If there's any questions on any of it, I'd be happy to do my best to try to answer them today. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Thank you. Mr. Brown, in terms of the Tuesday and Wednesday closures for normal city business, and are there any active construction projects that might need a C of O or permit? And are those folks apprised of the fact that we'll be closed?
Yeah, that's one of the primary things that we will make sure that we're reaching out to people that are going to be impacted by that in that fashion. But keep in mind that we'll still be able to keep the ball rolling, as I mentioned, with some people coming into the city hall on Tuesday. But in terms of them coming in to get those kind of things, we'll try to communicate that as best we can to anybody that's in that bubble of time that might be looking to come in on Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll make sure that we can do our best to communicate that ahead of time.
All right.
Work with Ken on that.
All right. And we'll move on to council comments. Councilmember Gacho.
Thank you. Just looking at the update here, it says Ann Arbor, relating to my coal tar comments a meeting or two back. It says Ann Arbor is the only local city to ban coal tar. That's not accurate. A few years ago, a number of cities did, particularly in Washtenaw County, but Wolverine Lake, West Bloomfield, Van Buren, Hamburg, Pinckney, Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, Scioto. So it's not just Ann Arbor. I think maybe I'd like to have that discussion again, or at least start to get a count of how many people are sealing their driveways and commercial parking lots. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Yeah, I should have been more clear on that. It was not a comprehensive survey. It was just a handful of communities that were looked into, and that was the only one that came up on the hits that we were making at the time. So no, I shouldn't have made the impression that was the only one. That's certainly not the case.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to encourage Wixom residents to vote in favor of the additional operating millage on the ballot Tuesday. Big election Tuesday, in case no one's been notified yet. For the last two budgets, city has levied only 3.0 mils and not the full authorized amount of 3.5. So I think that worked out real well. And if you'd like to know more and understand the importance of this ballot item, please watch the video on the city. You can find it on the City of Wixom website, wixomgov.org. Our very own Cheryl Lucas and Kathy Venegas did a great job creating that video, and we thank them for it. Other than that, be careful of trick-or-treaters this weekend, and good luck to everyone on Election Day, especially our very own hardworking employees and volunteers at the polls. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Berman.
Thank you. First, just again, my deepest condolences to the family of Lieutenant Rhiannon Ross. Just a horrible tragedy for them to be going through that. Thank you very much to Steve for sharing us with that millage video that the staff put together, and also to addressing the issue or attempting to address the issue on the train blocking. Hopefully we get some results from your communication you're doing on that. And lastly, thank you to Chief Roberts for taking the time to show me through the fire station. And thank you to Tim Sikma for taking the time to show me through the DPW yard and the Water Resource Recovery Center. Very educational, both of those tours for me, especially that we spend so much money in both of those areas, seeing what we have. If the other council members haven't had the opportunity to do that, I would definitely recommend taking some time with both of them to do that.
Yeah. Councilmember Grenlund Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to express my condolences to the family of Lieutenant Ross. I would like to congratulate those employees that are celebrating their work anniversaries. I would also like to encourage all those Wixom residents that have not already voted to get out and vote. And just let Kathy and Crystal know I'm thinking of them, and good luck. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to offer my condolences to the family of Lieutenant Rhiannon Ross as well. Tragic young life lost in the service of our country. My girls knew her family and here in Wexford Muse in my neighborhood, and sorry for their loss. Wanted to thank City Manager Brown for the follow-up items in his report. I did read it and got some input on the West Road project especially. So nice work in saving some money there. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also want to extend my family's condolences to family of Rhiannon Ross, and also Ensign Morgan Garrett, who was also killed in that tragedy. Kudos to the team for that instructional or the public service video on the millage. Nicely done for a very low price. I think I might try to use it for my own company now. I saw the success that one and how nice it looks. Breast Cancer Awareness Month still, October. Thank you, Chief Roberts, and for your activities in this regard, and stay safe during election time. That's it.
Thanks, and I'd like to extend my condolences to the family of Lieutenant Ross and the tragic young loss of life there. Congratulations to the 14 employees celebrating work anniversaries with us. As I always say, these are the hardest working people. I appreciate everything they do for us in the city. They work hard, and sometimes an attaboy is what they need, and so they get the attaboys from us. I really like those videos that Kathy Venegas produced, and a voiceover for Cheryl Lucas, the Halloween and the city millage. And yes, I think it was like $2,000 or $3,000 for the original one, and we did both of those for $460. So great savings there and a great job. Thank you to both of them. And with Election Day coming up on Tuesday, I just want to assure that our citizens, anybody who wants to vote in person, Public Safety Director Moore, City Clerk Kathy Buck, they have a great plan to keep everybody safe. We're going to have plenty of equipment there, hand sanitizers and whatnot. So don't use any excuses not to vote. You've had a chance to either vote by mail or you can vote in person, but don't give up that right. That's the only right that they can't take away from us. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for putting up with a long meeting.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Have a good night. Night.